This is an example from section 7.5, and here I have a system of inequalities, and that consists of two inequalities in this particular case. But what I do is I first label the two inequalities with A and B. After that, I personally find out whether I'm going to have to shade above or below the line. And the way that I do it, there's different ways of doing it, but the way that I do it is I look at the y and make sure that y is positive. I want y to be positive. And if I look at equation A, or inequality A, y is positive. At that point, I ask myself, well, I look at the inequality symbol, and does that say that y is less than or y is greater? In this inequality A, we have that y is less than, so that tells me that I'm going to shade below the line. In the inequality B, once again, I look at the y and its coefficient, and I see that it's a negative 2y. So in order to, I want that to be positive. So in order to make it positive, I'm going to move it over to the right side of the inequality. Well, if I move the negative 2y over to the right side of the inequality, it'll say that 2y is greater than or equal to. Now, I'm not actually doing it, I'm just mentally or visualizing it, visualizing the y over on the right side. So anyways, if I move the negative 2y over to the right, it'll be a positive 2y on the right side, and then it'll be 2y is greater than. So that tells me that to shade up. I will discuss a different way of knowing whether to shade up or down a little bit later. Anyways, I got to make sure that I graph the lines correctly. So I'm going to do that by finding the intercepts, the x-intercept, and then followed by the y-intercept. If I do the x-intercept, I set y is equal to 0, and I basically just get negative 3x is equal to negative 9. The y disappears. And I solve for x, and I get that x is equal to 3. Now, I'm going to get the y-intercept, and this is solved for inequality A. So then for the y-intercept, I set x is equal to 0, and if I do that, the negative 3x disappears, and I just get y is equal to negative 9, or the y-intercept is negative 9. So equation A, or inequality A, is done at this point. Now I move on to inequality B. I'll find the x-intercepts the same way, setting y equal to 0. I get x equal to 4, and that is done. And then I do the y-intercept. I need two intercepts or 2 points to make a line. So the y-intercept for inequality B, I get that it's equal to, that y is equal to negative 2. After I have that, then I graph the lines. Now, inequality A, remember the x-intercept is at 3 and the y-intercept is at negative 9. Those are my two dots, and I'll make a line through it. But if I look back at inequality A, it's a strict inequality. It doesn't have the little equal sign at the bottom, so it'll be a broken line. Okay, now, remember that the arrow was indicating that to shade below the line. I'm going to make these little arrows these little arrows along line A, running all the way across the line A. And that's just, I'll use that as a little bit later, I'll show you. But right now, the little arrows are pointing down because, after all, I will have to shade down. And then I graph B. I use my two intercepts, the x-intercept and the y-intercept. And I plot them, and then I connect them, and make sure that the line is labeled B. And then I'll take a look at where to shade by looking at the arrow that I had gotten at the start of the problem. And the arrow points up. So I'm going to go all along line B and make the little arrows pointing up. after I'm done with that, I'll ask myself, in what region do all the little arrows come together? And I see that it's in the upper right-hand side region where the arrows come together. And that is the solution of this inequality. Now, I mentioned that a different way of finding out whether to shade on top or below, and that is by plugging in a point that's not on the line. And a lot of the times you'll be able to use the origin as that point, and plugging the x value of that point and the y value of that point into the inequality. Now, if I use the point 0, 0, then in inequality A, I get 0 is less than -9. Now, that's a false statement, and which means that I'm going to have to shade away from the point that I used. And in this case, I'll be shading away from the origin. If you look at the line A, I don't shade towards the origin. I shade away towards the origin. And now I'm going to repeat the process for inequality B. If I plug in 0 for x and y, I get that 0 is less than or equal to 4. And in this case, it's a true statement. So if you look at line B, this time I'm going to shade towards the origin, which is also the same as shading above the line B. And so that's a different way. And that is it.